Look what you've done. Look what you've done. You're on a collision course with failure. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, across all platforms. This is the Gaming Tangents Podcast. Woo-hoo! Woo-hoo! Woo! That's all I get, 2? 2.5. Woo! It's all right. I don't need your
3.
sympathy woos. Never mind. We don't.
Right.
Nobody needs it. Ugh.
Okay.
We're going to do that again. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Just kidding. This is the podcast where we talk about gaming's past, present, and future. Do our best to stay on topic. It is also the official podcast of the cross-platform YouTube show. And this is Menji.
And I am sleepy.
Good Lord. That's how you start a show? That's how you start a show? Sorry, guys. Not going to have any
I'm going to be asleep half this podcast, today. So just go ahead, take the show,
so
take the reins.
You go ahead and pass out as well, because it's going to be a showstopper.
In fact, I'm already asleep.
This is the way you talk in your dreams?
Yeah,
you do the show in your dreams. You're that dedicated.
Yep.
Oh. All right.
Yeah, I'm on autopilot right now. Well, anything goes.
Well, then maybe I can't complain too much. Mm-hmm. That's some dedication I can't buy with money, which we don't get on this show.
Not at all.
All that being said, you are Maverick, though, correct? I am speaking to the correct person?
I believe I am
Just
Maverick.
Wanted to make sure we haven't gotten our lines crossed. Excellent.
Oh, yeah, no.
How are you,
Actually,
sir?
I'm Menji.
No. No, you are not. I am very awake.
I am okay. I'm okay. Everything's fine. No.
Things are so. I don't know.
Things are so.
It's mundane.
My dog got ran over, and then my cat scratched my eye out. No, I'm doing fine.
Stop reading Facebook posts, please.
I've just been super busy. My apologies to our audience. Are very unexpected circumstances last week.
That was your fault, wasn't it?
We are back in full force, and I will be gone next week.
The fullest of forces! All the forces of evil.
Oh, yeah.
So only a force of evil doth. What?
No, as I've mentioned before, I just recently started school, and they finally had kicked overtime back in at my job, so I've been taking advantage. And
is this the mandatory overtime or the not mandatory overtime?
This is the not mandatory overtime.
Oh, okay. Good.
And so I've been taking advantage of it, and that combined with school and then my personal life, it's been a little bit hectic. I'm trying to readjust to all that schedule, since I had an entire summer where I didn't have to do all that.
Now it's all crazy. You're finally growing up, Maverick.
Oh, yeah.
He's a big boy now.
I haven't had time to play much of anything. I sneak in a little bit of KOF 14 every now and then, but other than that, I haven't really played much of anything, and even that's only been like in the last 2 weeks. I think I only played it once.
Such a loser.
Oh yeah.
God.
How dare I make a living?
Dude, play games or die. Sorry, I was reading one of the YouTube comments.
What?
I was reading one of the YouTube comments. Sorry, that wasn't me.
Okay. Okay. Are you sure it wasn't you?
Positive.
I
it wasn't my secondhand troll account or anything.
Oh yeah, because we
all
know you have that. Yeah. Okay. While we're starting rumors about ourselves, I have no rumor to think of off the top of my head right now.
Well, that was great. I'm glad we all waited for that.
Yeah, I know. All the anticipation just built there, right?
Yeah. Speaking of anticipation, thanks to you and all of your damn KOF 14 talk, I actually spent a good part of last week going back and playing KOF 13 a lot.
Nice.
And then my kids started watching me play KOF 13.
Nice. How did that go? Did you actually beat it?
Starts anew. Nah, dude, I can't. And then, well, I only been playing story mode, and that one actually doesn't let you continue. Anyways, even if I wanted to, I mean, you can go back to the beginning. I mean, you can go back to the beginning. Back to the future! You can go back to the end of the game and do it again if you really want to. But, like, I still have a bunch of blocks in the story that are blank. So I'm trying to figure out how to fill those in anyways, and so I just go back. So I haven't beat it yet, no.
Yeah, that game's story mode is very convoluted and very deep.
And some of the text goes by incredibly fast, and so I have no idea what it says.
You know, you can, like, you have to push the button to make the text go by.
No. The text goes and disappears super fast in some scenes.
Really?
Yeah, it just keeps scrolling by on its own.
You're talking about the actual cutscenes.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I don't care about the text when they're fighting each other. Once I'm done with story mode, I'm turning that crap off.
Yeah, no, well, yeah, if you play, you know, you can play regular arcade mode and there's dialogue on that. And
I know, that's what I want to turn off eventually. But for the story mode, some of the things they talk about are actually related to the story, so...
Right, and the other one is just
random
talk.
Bullcrap, yeah. It's
random talk.
Stupid.
It's fun to see, though, like, with your favorite characters. The only thing is, like I said, and I mentioned this with SNK versus Capcom. You know, you make a drinking game out of it. Play as Iori, and every time he says die, take a shot.
Yeah, I miss the intros. I prefer the animated intros.
I wish that they had have done that, but I'm going to assume KOF 14, they kind of dropped the ball with the special intros and everything like that. Like I said, as far as I've seen, only Billy actually has one with Geese. But I don't think there's an excuse because, I mean, they brought those back, but then it's like, okay, well, they only gave him one win pose, you know, except for Sylvie for some reason. She has two. But KOF 13, you know, they had only one win pose. They had some occasionally had a second win pose if you did their climax. But like they didn't have the intros and they didn't have the they didn't really have any any other win poses, which was kind of annoying.
Yeah. At most, the only variety you'll get is that they'll say something different during their win pose, but it's all the same win pose.
Yeah, and that's kind of how KOF 14 is. And like I said, I can understand it on KOF 13 because it's so graphic heavy. Like, and all that hand-drawn animation, I mean, you could tell that just doing those little animations would have taken up a lot of time. Because that's why the game took so long to make to begin with.
Right.
You know? And so, but it's a masterpiece, and it's a nice way to go out as far as, like, the previous story arc, and then, you know, the last, you know, hand-drawn animated KOF.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully not the last, but definitely the last for a while. Until they feel like making that one KOF that's, like, gonna be sold for nostalgia's sake. It'll be 2D.
Yeah, but if they do that, I'm afraid they're gonna go back to the sprite-based Neo Geo ones.
They can even go back to those sprite models, but they need to reanimate them and make it look nice.
Yeah, and like we mentioned in the last podcast, I mean, that's one thing SNK did. They at least added more animation frames. They didn't just take the skin and then just hope that they use old animations as new.
Right. No. They would change moves and win poses and things like that. Totally much better move than Street Fighter ever did.
Yeah, right.
But
I can't speak for Menji, but I'm not a Street Fighter hater.
No, me neither.
I love Street Fighter. I'm just like, I'm a little disappointed with this most recent entry. I haven't even played it yet, but just by the presentation alone, I'm just kind of like, you know, you guys really dropped the ball on that.
I don't care.
Like, Street Fighter. Street Fighter 4, like Street Fighter Alpha was the first one where I felt like they actually gave or Street Fighter Alpha 3 was the first game where I think they actually gave the characters more personality.
Right.
And more story. But I mean, it took them that long to get there, where SNK had started almost from, I wouldn't say so much KOF 94, but by 95, especially King of Fighters 96, they had all developed personality, and then that's kind of how their games became
right.
Art of Fighting, Fatal Fury, Samurai Showdown.
Yeah.
You know, all those games.
I don't personally care either way about Street Fighter V per se. I just feel that Street Fighter already gets enough love and acclaim that it's like there's really nothing else to say. I mean, a big part of the reason why we started this channel is kind of to highlight the underdogs, and so KOF is probably our favorite underdog.
Right, KOF, and not just KOF, like other SNK games too.
Well, yeah.
You know, and I can't say a whole lot because I was actually never into Akari Warriors, and I actually do remember that being big when we were kids. But it was not my kind of game. Like I never really was interested in it. And all actuality, the first SNK game I ever played was Crystalis or Crystalis, however everyone wants to pronounce it. I always pronounce it Crystalis.
Crystal is.
Yeah.
Crystal is what? I don't know.
One of my favorite action RPGs of all time. Played kind of like a faster paced Zelda, but with more content.
Right.
I would say, like, I wouldn't say content because Zelda has a lot of content, but like around that time, there was only Zelda and Zelda 2.
Yeah, we should probably clarify this is an NES game. Yeah, exactly.
Right, this was an NES game, so this is before Zelda 3 came out or Link to the Past came out, which I know it's not Zelda 3 per se, but you know, when they were developing it, it was titled Zelda 3.
Yeah.
But
and it's still one of the best.
It is my favorite of all the Zelda games, to be honest. But Crystalis was like an alternative to Zelda because Zelda, it was very. There was a lot of in-depth stuff in Zelda, but it wasn't straightforward. It was like you had to discover things on your own, which was fun. But Crystalis was more linear, but then it had more story content.
Yeah, so the pacing was different.
Right. And that was the game. That was the first SNK game that I ever played. So it wasn't Akari Warriors. It wasn't Baseball Stars. It was that game.
I mean, I guess for me it was too, because I remember playing it at your place. So.
Oh yeah, no, one of my favorite games. And then Nintendo bought it and butchered it and ported it to the Game Boy Color, and it was terrible.
Ooh, I didn't even know about that.
Oh yeah, I remember being excited because it came out for Game Boy Color. And I had picked it up, and the music was awful. They changed the story around. It wasn't the same game. And I was just like, no, this is not my game.
Oh, that's too bad.
You want to do a game, well, and this is later on, but you want to do a game right, and you want to redo everything. Blaster Master came out for the Wii, like an actual remake of the game.
I think I remember this.
But it was like a digital download, but like they didn't use the same story. You know,
Oh, that's right.
You weren't some kid going after your frog. You actually, instead it had to do with some kind of alien invasion and a disease, and you're this one guy who can go take it out. It was actually an interesting story. More so than I'm looking for my frog.
I don't know. I kind of find Frog to be a bit of a. It's so wacky and so off the wall.
But the funny thing is like you never hear about the frog again.
The frog is the last boss, I believe.
Nope.
You sure?
Well, I think the frog. No, the last boss is some thing that's like a knight or something with a shield.
I remember hearing that the frog was the last boss.
The frog, there is a frog that is a boss. I don't know if it's necessarily his frog, because if you're going down there and you're going after the frog, why are you going to kill it?
Well, because it mutated into a big ugly monster. You have no choice. It's bittersweet. You found your frog, but now he's turned into a big alien mutated, creature. And you have no choice now. You have to put him down with your newfound car powers.
So the story, you heard it here. The original story of Blaster Master was you have to go down and euthanize your frog.
If you want to make it that simple, sure. I think my way sounded a bit more poetic, but whatever. You choose. We'll make two versions. We'll make the Maverick version and the Menji version. You tell me which one is...
See which one sells more.
Got a better story.
Right. And from what I understand is in the NES version, they actually added that part in because I heard the story was extremely bland.
Sounds like it.
So, yeah, they added the story content to it.
Spaceman going to fight aliens sounds pretty bland to me.
No, it wasn't Spaceman going to fight aliens. It's aliens invading Earth and spreading some kind of disease or something.
To turn animals into monsters?
Sure.
Sounds like Froggy is the boss.
Yeah.
I'm the winner.
Yeah, sure. Anyway. So, yeah.
Something else I've been playing slightly sickens me because it is a mobile game. I say playing, I just started playing it. Because I just found it. And this is another thing where it's kind of a book by its cover. Like, I basically downloaded it because of the screenshots. And the way it looked. Tell me if you've played this before. Because I have a sneaking suspicion. It's called Final Fantasy Brave Exvius.
I have not played this before.
You have not? Okay, because I ran into a character named Maverick and I tried to friend him. I wasn't sure if it was you or not.
Nope.
Anyway, so it's a mobile game. It's free. And it encompasses... It kind of looks like what Final Fantasy would have looked like if they made a fourth one on the Super Nintendo.
Really?
Like if they just made one more. Like it's
so it has like Final Fantasy.
It's 6. The sprites are 6-ish, but they still look a little bit better than that. But it is sprite based, so it looks like it would be a 16-bit, maybe. Like if it was like a Final Fantasy game on like maybe like the 32X or the Sega CD.
Interesting.
So just a little bit better than that. They're all sprites, and then it encompasses characters from the entire history of Final Fantasy.
Why does this sound familiar?
And they basically act almost as your summons.
And it's called All the Bravest?
It's called Brave Exvius, because, Final
Brave
Fantasy.
And sorry, All the Bravest was that one game that it was like a sorry excuse for a Final Fantasy game where you just were on a map, you go and you fight like multiple enemies and you couldn't even control it. Everything happened at random. You win the battle, you go to the next one.
No, although it is similar to that. It might be like the sequel to that or something. There is no real world map, but you do like kind of go to different sections of a map. You go in there, and then it's like 3 fight scenes, like 2 regular fights, and then a boss battle. But you can control what you do, attack, defend, magic, and all that kind of stuff. And then there is actual a storyline to the game with brand new characters. And it plays out basically like an old school Final Fantasy game. You got these 2 guys just out on a mission, and you're kind of slowly finding out who they are, what they're about, what their personalities are, what the mission is. Like, it just kind of drops you into it, kind of like Final Fantasy IV did. It just kind of dropped you into the middle of, like, what the hell? And then
it has a story.
It does. It has a story.
See, All the Bravest didn't have a story.
Okay,
it was just
so it might be the sequel to that. Like, they've learned their lesson and kind of figured it out.
I guess. Because All the Bravest had no story. It was just an excuse to make money. It was like, hey, we have these old sprites. Let's go ahead and use them. Have about 50 characters, 50 of the same character here, 50 of the same enemies here.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. It's not that. You actually make a party. When you're battling, like, they're all staggered out like an actual, like, Final Fantasy battle scene. Like 3 in the front, 2 in the back kind of a thing.
So this would make it their second story-based game, Final Fantasy game for the mobile, then.
I'm guessing. I don't know. I feel like it just came out. I think I found it in the new release section of the Google Play Store.
Yeah, no, I've been seeing advertisements for it. I just never bothered to check what it was. But this is the second game to come out that is story-based, because there was a game called Final Fantasy Dimensions. And it also used like Super Nintendo style graphics, although these were more like Final Fantasy IV style graphics. And I don't remember the story because it was years ago, and it was supposed to be like the first chapter was free, but then you have to buy the rest of the chapters.
That makes sense.
And they finished it. I never got past much of the first chapter because I remember playing on a plane and thinking, this game will be fun, but I don't want to play it on a mobile device.
Yeah. I have a bit of that. So, first thing I want to say out the bat, like, the graphics are really nice looking. Like, if you're into that kind of old school Final Fantasy aesthetic, it feels like an old school Final Fantasy game. Like I said, it feels like a Super Nintendo Final Fantasy game. The music is freaking incredible.
Really?
It is some of the best Final Fantasy music I've heard in a long time. Like, it has a lot of those old Final Fantasy motifs that we like. But it's all orchestrated, and then it has like a chorus in the background, like a church choir, like kind of the kind of thing, like people singing along with it. Like, it sounds beautiful with your headphones on. The music is amazing. There's a huge download for this game, which I have a feeling that's part of the reason why. Like, you download the game, and then when you start it up, like, you have to be on Wi-Fi to download the rest of it.
Really?
It's massive.
What is the name of this again?
Brave Exvius.
Brave Exvius.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to look at this because I've only seen the logo. I've not seen any screenshots of this game.
Oh, check out the screenshots. It's really pretty.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to check out right now. Yeah, I mean, it sounds. It's still, as you said, it's orchestrated and everything. So clearly, it doesn't sound like a 16-bit title.
No. The music is not 16-bit at all. Just the graphics.
I see. But there's CG opening. There's a CG opening. It looks like
there might be. In fact, yeah, I think there is. There is a CG opening. Oh
wow! These are.
There's some lovely sprites. I just did a battle where I managed to get Kane on my team.
Oh, nice.
And he looks freaking amazing. He looks so cool. Like, it looks like Kane, but he's like in this really awesome stance with this giant spear. Like, it's cool. I've seen some pictures of like Rydia and Terra, and they also look really nice. And it's like characters that go all the way. It goes all the way up to Lightning. So whatever Final Fantasy game that was, 13. Like, it goes all the way up to 13 for characters that you can get on your party.
Nice.
Along with the two characters that are part of the story. They have nothing to do with the story. They're almost like summons who just come and help you fight. But it's just nice to have them.
I'm sure everybody's trying to buy Cloud, right?
Of course, Cloud and Sephiroth. That's all I want to make.
Sephiroth's in it too?
I'm sure he is. I was amazed to find that X-Death was a character.
Really? X-Death, the last boss of Final Fantasy V.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, see, I'm trying to look at like screenshots here, and all I keep seeing is like character art. Oh, here we go. Holy
Shnikes.
Yeah, this kind of reminds me of what are those games that Namco puts out?
Tales?
Tales of Destiny. The graphics kind of remind me of that. Only more. No, they kind of remind me of Tales.
Like a 16-bit Tales?
No, like the 32-bit ones. Although this looks more detailed as far as like the backgrounds and everything like that. I'm talking about the character sprites though. They kind of remind me of that.
Really?
No, this looks really nice though.
It is. It's nice to look at. Now, as I dug further, because this game is a little complicated.
Wait, before you go on, is it free?
It is free, which of course means that it's not free.
Right, exactly.
Like this? Like, have you seen this image?
That's the image I'm looking at right now.
It is not free, so the way that you get these other characters to join your team is to summon them. Oh, Kefka really is a character you can get. That's crazy. And the way you do that, I guess, is you use these tickets, and it'll randomly call a character for you, and the character that you get is all based on some weird things, and you can also buy more tickets. So there is a method in this game to get money from you. There is a monetization effort in the game, But the game is so convoluted that I can't understand how paying the money helps me. If that makes any sense.
They probably want to buy. They probably want you to buy cloud.
I don't know. There's this weird thing where after you get like maybe 2 or 3 stages into the game, first off, it adds a third character to your party who I have no idea where this character appeared from. I think I just got her from a crystal. It's just like a white mage. And then,
okay.
And then it'll ask you if you want to let another character from somebody else's game join your party. Which is how I was able to get like X, Death, and Kane on my party, and they'll join you for that one stage, and then they'll leave. That's crazy,
yeah. Okay, yeah, I just downloaded it.
Yeah, try it out. Try it out with headphones. Make sure you listen to it with headphones. Play it with headphones.
I'll have to check it out.
While it's downloading the rest of the game, like it plays like that Final Fantasy interlude song.
Oh, nice.
And it crescendos, because at first it's just the song, just like played with an orchestra. And then at some point, the orchestra comes in, and not the orchestra, the chorus comes in, and they're like, oh, 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 like it builds. It sounds so nice. It's probably my favorite version of that song I've ever heard, actually.
Well, I definitely have to check it out. Sounds like they actually put effort into this game. It looks like they put effort into this game.
Yeah.
I mean, I see some rehashed graphics in there, like the behemoth and whatnot. That's definitely a more high-res image of the behemoth from Final Fantasy VI that I'm seeing there. But it looks like they put far more effort into this with the character sprites and like the backgrounds and everything like that. It isn't. Yeah. It's not just a rehash.
I think if they were to touch it up a little bit more and put it on like a PS Vita or a 3DS, it would totally sell. I would buy this game.
If chances of it appearing on a Vita are slim, but
I'm just saying, it could totally fit on a Vita game as a Vita game.
Right. No, I could see that working.
But vis-a-vis mobile, I think would be a really good idea. Not phones, mobile. You know what I mean? Mobile with buttons.
It's possible because there was that one game, Theater Rhythm, that came out, which I actually found very fun. Despite the fact that I had to buy some tune, I only bought one tune because there's one specific tune I wanted, and there was the battle, what's it called, decisive battle when you fight X Death in Final Fantasy V. One of my favorite Final Fantasy themes, and I had to freaking buy it. And then I ended up getting it for the 3DS, and then it disappeared.
Oh,
sadly. But yeah, that was pretty fun. I was into that for a little while. SNK actually put a KOF for a game like that out on the phone.
I did play that, yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty fun.
What was that called? The Rhythm of Fighters?
Something like that,
yeah. I did play that for a while. It's basically Owen Dawn with King of Fighters.
Yeah, and going back to the KOF thing for one moment, I do have to say that SNK came out with some really weird games for their King of Fighter franchise, which it's like, I get that you want to push the King of Fighters franchise, but sometimes it just doesn't make sense.
Are we talking about KOF Kyo?
Well, there's KOF Kyo, but KOF Kyo was just put together very poorly. It was actually a really good concept, but it just was not executed well.
Oh, okay.
There was the King of Fighters Puzzle to Paradise or something like that.
I've heard of that one.
Yeah. It was for a Neo Geo Pocket. It was like a board game type game.
Oh, wow.
And then they had...
there's a system. We got to talk about it sometime.
Oh, yeah, I know, right? So I've ended up getting rid of that twice, and I've regretted it both times. If I get it again, my hands on it again, it's staying with me.
Every now and then I'll go through boxes and I'll run across mine.
Yeah,
it's my blue camouflage.
The only downside about that's I remember that one. I remember having the blue one because that was my favorite one. See, now I got that stupid tune stuck in my head. Thanks a lot, sir.
All right, time for the Neo Geo Pocket Podcast. Hi, everybody.
Yeah. All right. No, you know that theme I'm talking about, right?
No.
When you first turn on the Neo Geo Pocket and you have to set the date and the time.
It's been a while since I've done that.
You're the one who... anyway, Okay.
It's always me.
Da 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 da. You don't remember that?
Sounds vaguely familiar.
Oh my god, you ass! You're the one who got it stuck in my head the first time, and every time I think of Neo Geo,
it's always my fault.
Yeah, it is. Every time I turn it on, I think about the time you would whistle that stupid song because it just got on my damn nerves. Anyway, so there was that King of Fighters game for the Neo Geo Pocket, and then there was it was on PSP. They call it King of Fighters Sky Stage. I'm like, okay, what's this? And I tried it. It was a space shooter.
Of course.
So it made no sense, and it's like, okay, you made it to the boss, and the boss would be like if I was playing as Yori, and like, you know, the boss was Athena, and I'm just like, what the? How does this make sense? This doesn't make any sense at all.
Because she says fire a lot.
It was on. I take that back. That was on Xbox first, and then it ended up being on PSP. But they changed the name to Neo Geo Heroes because they ended up adding a whole bunch of Neo Geo characters to it, not just King of Fighter characters.
Oh, that makes it better.
Yeah, so we got a space shooter that didn't have spaceships. It had it had Neo Geo characters in it.
Just what we've always wanted. And that was the one thing they were missing, the secret sauce to put them over the edge.
Yeah. Take a wild guess why this game didn't work.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Not.
And apparently, there's also an online King of Fighters game.
Yes, I know about this. I think it's a Korean-made game. I'm almost positive. I know what you're talking about.
I was like
it didn't look good. It didn't look good to me.
It looked interesting to me.
It looked like they put like old arcade sprites on like really modern graphic backgrounds, and it didn't look good, from what I remember.
So they took the Capcom approach. Got it. Yeah, or the SNK approach, because SNK was really guilty of that too, especially with their what was the one game?
Battle Coliseum?
Battle Coliseum was really bad. They actually cleaned it up on Xbox Live.
No?
It actually looks a whole lot better, and they got a better artist, because I'm sorry, I don't want to knock an artist, but when you suck, you suck, and whoever was doing the art for that time period really sucked.
Keiji Inafune?
No, we were unlocking these because when you play King of Fighters 14, you unlock illustrations. And so some of the illustrations they included were from King of Fighters 2001 and 2002. Why are you looking at me like that? And there's this one particular one of the Special 97 team, you know, Mary, Yamazaki, and Billy. And I'm just looking at it and I'm just like, this looks horrible. Like, I forgot how shitty the art was for it. And it was like, what? It was like, first of all, it looks like they use watercolors to paint these characters. And then, you remember how they used to have a realistic look?
For the promo art?
Before. Yeah, like
right.
From King of Fighters 95 and up. It was a realistic look that they had.
Right.
Then King of Fighters 2001 came out. They got a brand new artist, and this guy, I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking by hiring him. The characters just looked awful.
It's a new approach, new style, and
that's fine to go with a new style. Like they, when SNK got the property back, they got a different artist, and they kind of went for it with a more anime type look. Which, looking back on it now, wasn't that great, but it was a far better, it was tons better than this other artist. It was just awful. So, hold on a second. I'm trying to find this image just to show you how bad this is. I'm kind of hoping, like, you know, and the funny thing is about that game is that the in-game art for that game wasn't, at least for 2001, wasn't that bad.
Okay.
You know?
Well, on an auditory podcast, probably not so necessary to show me the images.
Oh no, I want the audience to hear your reaction. I want an authentic reaction.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Curate my reactions, everyone, to this art.
Yeah.
From whatever game he was just talking about.
King of Fighters 2000.
That's the one.
Gonna choose
2006.
2006.
KOF 2021.
Yeah, which, you know, what's funny is that there really is a King of Fighters 2006. But only in America. It was Maximum Impact.
Only in America.
Yeah. And I'm still not finding it. You know what sucks is that now... Oh, here we go. Here. Let me just show you... if you can see this right here.
Bring it down. Ugh. What is that?
Yeah.
What does that remind me of? Wow. It looks like some of the concept art you would have seen for, like, Resident Evil. Which Resident Evil concept art is fine for Resident Evil. Does not work for Iori and his pompadour.
Oh, check this out. This is the one that terrified my son.
Down a little bit. This way a little bit. That way. The other way. The other way. There you go. That's just bad staging.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest, Blue Mary and Yamazaki don't look that bad.
Really?
It's Billy Kane just first completely out of character.
Right.
Which is the sign of an anime artist. Like, I just don't know how to draw my characters in character. Just put them in whatever pose. It's fine. It's anime. It just something about his pose, and then where Blue Mary's got her, like, gun fingers is, like, riding right along the line of his belt, which to me is just bad posing. That's just overlapping lines, like, no good.
I did not like the Yamazaki, the look of Yamazaki.
He doesn't look that bad, but at least he's posed like Yamazaki.
Right, and there's that, and you know, and I'll give you that the design for Blue Mary doesn't look bad, but that artist in general, I think he's a terrible artist. I'm sorry.
I don't think that. No, I don't think he's bad. I just don't think KOF was the right fit.
Maybe not, and you could be right. You know, the funny thing is some of the artists that got when they got laid off from SNK, one of those artists clearly went to Capcom. If you look at the box art for Super Ghouls and Ghosts for the Game Boy Advance, it's clearly that same artist. Like, they gave it the whole realistic look and everything. I really like the design of the princess. Arthur looks kind of weird, but yeah, clearly they didn't go with however the hell you pronounce it, Eolith, whatever.
Sure.
Yeah,
those guys.
Yeah, those guys. They didn't go with them.
Just those guys. It would be cool, honestly, if SNK just went full out, like we're bringing it back. Like, just bring back the old artist. Bring back that old look.
Right.
Super hyper-realistic drawings.
Right, because for the longest time, that's what defined the KOF series, was that style of art.
Yeah.
So.
And
then, and I think to add insult to injury, sorry, because I really don't like that art. In King of Fighters 2001, the PlayStation version, instead of using the in-game sprites or the in-game art for the characters' wins, they actually use those images, which I did not like because I actually thought the in-game art was a whole lot better.
That's jarring.
Yeah.
That art's always been kind of relegated to like promotional art. It's never really been an in-game thing, so that's kind of jarring.
Yeah, if you ever play the PS2 version, you'll see what I'm talking about. It just looks bad.
Which one is it?
King of Fighters 2001.
Oh no, I'm not doing that. No. No. it's difficult enough for me to want to play
everybody's
KOF 2001 in the first place. I'm not going to go get it on a whole other system. No.
Right?
No.
That's right. You still have that on Dreamcast, don't you?
I believe I do.
I forgot.
At least I have
forgot that
2000.
even came out
I don't remember if I have 2001. I should look. I at least have 2000.
2000 was good.
2000 was good.
I thought it had a lot. I liked all the little cameos they had in there.
Yeah. 2000 is the one that had like the fourth character, right?
Right. That was the 99, 2000, 2001, but which is funny because 2001 actually refined that whole thing, and you could actually have four fighters fight and have, you can balance it out. It wasn't that bad as far as gameplay goes, but like presentation wise, it just wasn't that great.
No.
But 2000 in my opinion, out of that trilogy was the best one. Because you had all the strikers, like you had another striker, so you'd have like cameos with like SNK characters you haven't seen in forever.
Yeah.
So, and then the PlayStation 2 version, and on that one, they added more characters to it.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I thought I always liked that. Awesome. But otherwise, how did we get back to this topic?
You said, I'm sorry, I'm going back to talk about King of Fighters again. It was very, just like, not gracious at all. You were just like, nope, we're done talking about this, going back to KOF. And so that's kind of how we got back here.
Yeah, I know. I know I'm the one who brought it back. I just can't remember what led to it, just because we've been talking about this, but... Yeah, KOF art.
Lack of grace. It's all right. It's That's how this show works. Gaming tangents, people.
Yep. Can't handle it? Go to another podcast.
It's surprising, right?
Right.
Would you say it's surprising?
I would say it's shocking. Shocking revelations. Shocking.
Things can shock you and surprise you. Games sometimes surprise me, Maverick. Have a game ever surprised you once before?
Is that your segue?
It's, yeah. If you don't mind.
Yes, games have surprised me, and you know what? I thought of a game that was going to surprise me, and,
God damn, it better not be another King of Fighters game.
Yeah, actually it is.
Oh, good lord. Go ahead.
You know what? Actually... Well, no. Actually, this was more on the whole disappointing thing, which I think we already discussed.
We discussed that. I was hoping today we'd be a bit more positive and look at games that were surprisingly good despite our initial impressions.
Well, that's the thing, because you kind of got it on both ends. I actually was initially disappointed with King of Fighters 94 when it first came out, because I thought the controls were horrible. Yeah.
You thought the what was horrible?
The controls. I thought the controls were horrible.
Oh, we were
and
just,
I thought
we
the
were
graphics
just bad at
ugly.
that game.
Yeah. And eventually I gave it another shot, and I ended up loving the game.
Yeah.
So on that aspect, it surprised me.
It surprised you. My biggest gripe, I remember, with that game that took me a while to get used to, and then I got too used to it, was that I thought the characters were too skinny.
Yeah, that was my problem.
What happened to all their muscles?
I used the Fatal Fury team, and I'm just like,
yeah,
what the hell happened to Joe?
They look so scrawny. They need to eat a hamburger or something. And then I got used to it.
Right.
And then when KOF 13 came out, or 12, and they went back to being all big and beefy, I was like, oh, they're like overly muscular now. I don't like it.
I know. Well, that wasn't too bad, except that what you call it, Ralph and Clark
were a little like on steroids.
Yeah. They had to take it back a bit, which they did.
Yeah, which is fine. But yeah, those are definitely the primest examples of there. And then if you go back to Fatal Fury and Art of Fighting, like they get all their muscles back, but whatever. Alternate timelines, apparently, according to some people.
I'm still going with that. Mm-hmm. Still going with that.
You go all the way with it. As far as you want.
So what game surprised you?
Games that surprised me. Excuse me. You know what? A lot of games that surprise me, honestly, come from the system that everybody seems to rag on the most. And that would be probably because I had no experience with any of these games and nobody could tell me anything about these games. And so I had to kind of find out firsthand. And that was like a lot of Sega Saturn games.
All right.
Quite honestly, surprised me. That's really where I kind of started to go out of my comfort zone, too.
Okay.
And so I think that plays a lot into it. So probably the earliest I can imagine is a game that honestly has been around since the arcade days that I never really cared for back in the day. There was also a Nintendo version of this game. It was all right, I guess. But I had a friend that invited me to come over to play this game at his house. He had just bought a multi-tap, and he's like, you have to come over, you have to try this game, and we all have to play together.
I think I know
where this is going. Okay, you might. And this game is Saturn Bomberman.
Yep.
The greatest Bomberman game ever created. If you have not played Saturn Bomberman and invited 5 other friends to come over and play with you, you have not lived.
I actually, when I worked at Sony during lunch, somebody brought their Saturn with them. That is the only game they played on that system.
That is it was Bomberman. Honestly one of the reasons to own a Saturn and a multi-tap. So it was Bomberman, obviously. It's the same old Bomberman, basically. You know, power-ups, blocks, and all that. But you could use the multi-tap, and so you could do a 6-player match on a big, giant map of Bomberman, and then it was just a matter of seeing who was going to be the last to survive, who could get the longest explosion before the rest of them. It was so good. The music on that game, I still listen to it to this day. The music for that game? Huh? Oh, I ended up buying it. I ended up buying it. I never got a multi-tap, but I never really needed it because I never had that many people come to my house.
I never knew you had it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I have it. I couldn't get it out of my head once I started playing it. I was hooked from the beginning.
Nice.
Like, not only, like, okay, so I've already kind of touched on the versus aspect of it. Like, the multiplayer function, so much fun to have just a whole group of people in the house and we're all just competing to see who's going to survive. Great game. The music is amazing. And then it's also got a really fun little story mode with, like, little anime cutscenes in it. Which, again, you know me, especially when I was a teenager, like, anime cutscenes, that'll sell me on anything.
You were big into anime back then.
There's an anime cutscene and something, I'm sold. And so I had a little storyline, and every stage that you went to was the new theme, and every stage had its own music, and that music was amazing as well. It had like this really weird, like kind of a subdued techno vibe, which I really liked. So all the songs had like always had like these real driving hard bass lines to them, regardless of the theme. So the two that stick out in my mind that were some of the best was the Wild West stage, which had a great song, which maybe I'll intercut here because it's such a good song. People have to listen to it. There was an amusement park stage, which had a really good song that was mixed in. It sounded like this weird techno song, and it had a bunch of like sound effects that you would hear at an amusement park, like train whistles and beeps and bloops and things, like mixed into the song. That was really good. And the boss song was amazing, which I'm going to cut in right here because you have to hear it a little bit. So good, that boss song. Love it. Oh, it's amazing. It's one of those songs that just get you pumped and get you going. Kind of like Arashi no Saxophone too, like just that good.
I don't know. Like Saxophone Under the Moon has kind of topped that for me. That's like my favorite now.
I don't know.
But we're not talking about King of Fighters.
I'm just talking about songs that get you pumped. I'm not talking about what's the best.
Right. That's for another podcast. I remember seeing them play the game, and I remember it being Bomberman, and I think the thing I found appealing is that it wasn't just Bomberman you can use. You could use other characters from other Hudson properties.
Right.
I can't even start to think of, more than, 4 properties that Hudson had. I knew Bonk was in it. I knew Master Higgins from what's it called, Adventure Island. And wasn't Mylon also in the game?
Probably. I may not have known who he was back then, but probably.
Yeah, and then I couldn't tell you who the rest of the characters were.
Yeah.
So
that game was so well made, and ever since then, I remember as we kind of moved on console generations, like there'd be a new Bomberman coming out, and I would just be like, "Oh, I'm gonna get that Bomberman game because it's got to be just as good as the last one, right?"
No, not as good.
Never lived up. I remember there was a Bomberman 64 that came out, and that was like the first 3D Bomberman, quote unquote. Like he actually ran. It was a 3D game. It was made out of polygons and stuff.
But he looked like Bomberman, though, right?
It was all Bombermans. Like, they got rid of all the extra character stuff, but,
Okay, because I was going to say, there was that horrible Bomberman X-Zero, which didn't even look like him. No. It wasn't that. Yeah, no. He looked like Bomberman, just made out of polygons. Apparently some people found that game fun, but I just, I was out. But Saturn Bomberman, if you can ever find that game, grab some friends, grab some beers, grab some snacks, and just have a good old time. I'd need a Saturn first.
And again, yeah. I'm not saying you can emulate it, but maybe you can emulate it.
Well, yeah, they just, like I said, they recently cracked that.
Right,
so.
They cracked the Saturn, yeah.
Right.
So good.
Who knows? Maybe we'll see it. Jeez. Game would have surprised me. Well, there's the game series in Japan, which I did a little bit of research on it, called the Dragon Slayer series. Dragon Slayer, not Dragon's Lair.
Oh, you're talking about that game by Don Bluth. All right. We all know this one, though.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about that game by Don Bluth. And apparently this was the 4th game in the series. I can't remember the name of the family at this point, but that was the subtitle, was the name of the family. And it came out here in the US as Legacy of the Wizard.
Oh, yeah. Legacy of the Wizards.
I remember a little punk-ass kid across the street who used to live across the street from me had this game. And I came over to his house one day and he was playing it. And I didn't think it looked that appealing, but I borrowed it from him anyway. And I played it and I was hooked. I am surprised I actually managed to beat that game. Because it is long and it is tedious and you have to use the right characters to get to the right place.
Oh, one of those.
And I always started out with the little pet. His name is Poochie. Because he couldn't die.
Poochie never dies until nobody wants to see him on TV anymore.
Right. But I like trying to figure out, okay, how do I get here and what do I do to get to this area and whatnot. And it was just really fun, and I actually found the music really appealing. I liked trying to figure out what can I do to get these weapons and whatnot, or how can I level up my character. How the hell do I fight that dragon that's just hanging out there? Turns out I have to have 5 crowns in order to do it, which is why you have to go defeat a boss. There was this one... I remember in Nintendo Power, this always got to me because I have no idea how they did this, but there was a question on how to beat a specific boss. And it shows the father, I think his name was Zemin or something like that, and he was fighting this boss, but it actually was the boss for the mother to fight, and I can't remember her name, but which would be fine, except that I to this day I wonder how in the hell did they get this guy to fight this boss, because there's one particular area you have to cross where there are these spikes. Well, the mother has the ability to float over these spikes. No other character has this.
Okay.
And so I'm just puzzled as to how the hell they got this character to get in to fight this boss, because this was before the internet, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, it could have been easily manipulated because, you know, most of the boss characters, you know, you fight, there's a black background, so, you know, it could have been a cut image and whatnot. But I mean, why the hell would Nintendo Power do that? They lose their credibility.
Right.
You know, it's not freaking EGM and April Fool month and whatnot. They didn't do that kind of stuff.
Right.
So, It always bothered me, and I kept trying to do it myself, and every time I got to that one particular part with the spikes, I always died because I couldn't get through there.
No, jeez.
Like, it's like a narrow path. You can't jump over the spikes. So you
try
had to have
walking
them
over
on.
like Ninja Turtles?
Yeah, I did, actually, and that's what killed me.
Oops.
So, still, at the end of the day, really fun game. I actually am kind of sad it never came out on Virtual Console. But I also found out that it was like and I don't know if this is an American thing or what, but it was kind of related to the Ultima series, because like at the end, it would say the cast and everything, and it would like be characters from the Ultima games.
Weird.
Like, yeah.
I know a lot of old Japanese RPGs would pay tribute to Ultima, because a lot of them were kind of influenced very heavily,
right.
So that might be why.
But yeah, excellent game. Very underrated. One of my favorites, and I actually wouldn't mind playing it again, but I remember the time it took to complete that game. And I believe the game used the password system.
Oh, God.
And you remember how tedious those were.
Password system. Children these days will never know.
Yeah. But again, one of my favorite, and then I found out it was the fourth in a series of games, and I don't think any of the other games ever came out in the US.
Oh, wow. That was a typical story back in the day.
Right.
Good Lord.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do a show on that, because that's what got our import craze started.
It was just Legacy of the
Not
Wizard?
the NES, but Super NES.
Oh, just games not coming out. Yeah, totally.
Games not coming out here, and you know, not to get too much into the topic, but that has definitely lost its charm now. I remember there was a kind of a special feeling to actually own a game that wasn't from the country. It was like, yeah, I'm able to play this now when nobody else can.
Importing, yeah, no.
And now it's kind of lost its pizzazz, because I mean, now you got Sony and even Nintendo like selling their games digitally on there, and they're actually calling them import games. Blah blah blah. It's like, it's not really imported if you're offering it here in the U.S.
Yeah, you know, it's just a foreign game.
If you're offering it publicly to the U.S., I have to say that, because we have to go to a store that specialized in selling those.
Right. Oh, good times. So you know what's
I'm sitting here trying to remember what the name of the Japanese version was. So
gotcha. Well, while you do that, you know what surprised me?
Which one?
Sonic.
Which one? The original?
Sonic the Hedgehog. No.
Really?
No. So as we all know, Sonic branches out from time to time. It's not always a 2D platformer, I guess. I guess that's what he is. 2D platformer. So when the Saturn came out, going back to the Saturn, we all thought we were going to finally get like a brand new next-gen Sonic game.
Oh, yeah.
We kind of did.
And please don't tell me it's Sonic R.
No, God. God. No. No.
Okay.
This is a game, honestly, up to this day, a lot of people still rag on this game, but I had a blast playing this game. I had a 3D blast.
Oh, no, I see what you did there. Wah, wah.
Sonic 3D blast. So for those who don't know, I think this was the first Sonic game to come out on the Saturn at all, which is part of the reason why I bought it, but I wasn't really sure like if it was going to be any good or not.
Well, didn't we not have any previous knowledge? Because I remember being there when I was with you when you bought that game.
No, like we just saw it there. I'm pretty sure.
I was under the impression it was going to be like Sonic Extreme, which at the time, Okay, again, it was what, mid 90s by this point?
If that.
The internet was just becoming a thing, or more mainstream.
Right.
And so we didn't really have much word on the fact that Sonic X was canceled.
Oh.
Or what was it called? Sonic Extreme. Right. We didn't really have any knowledge that it was canceled, so we thought that this was...
Maybe this was it?
I remember thinking... we were thinking that was the game, because they called it 3D Blast,
right.
you know? And I remember when we got it, I'm like, this doesn't look revolutionary.
Yeah, so honestly, at first, it was a bit of a disappointment. Because it wasn't the game that we thought it was. Like we saw the back of the box. You could look at the back of the box, and you could see that it's this isometric view... So I guess it is 3D, but it's not what we saw in the the early screenshots for Sonic Extreme. And so we came,
I thought they were cleaned up. I didn't realize that they were still 2D sprites.
I know. Like, you can't tell. It's actually a really nice looking game. So Sonic 3D Blast is actually an upscaled version of a game that did come out on the Genesis as well.
Yes,
apparently the Genesis version is
don't like the Genesis version.
Terrible. I've heard the Genesis version is just terrible, which I think is the version that everybody bases their reviews on, their experience. Yeah.
Yeah, let me tell you firsthand my experience with that, because I played your version of the game first. All right. And I remember, it was like, okay, this wasn't as great as I thought it would be.
Well, once you dumped that, once you're like, okay, you know what? I'm going to throw all these expectations out the window and just play the game. Like, it's actually a really good little game.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And it's really enjoyable. And I think one thing that really helped on my end was the music.
Yeah, the music is so good. Again, just like Saturn Bomberman. Like, this is... Like, we had Sega CD, my buddy had Sega CD, so I kind of already had an experience with what CD-ROM music could sound like.
Right.
But this was, like, really the first time where all the songs for every game, like, the production values were just umphed up to 1,000.
Right.
And, like, not only was it just like, oh, they're using real instruments now, but they were really good songs for a lot of these games. Like the Saturn takes a lot of crap because the games weren't as good as the PlayStation, whatever. But quite honestly, 9 times out of 10, I would prefer the music on Saturn games to PlayStation games.
Right.
I don't know. There was especially for first party games. The music that Sega was putting out back then, I don't know who was doing their music, but it was so good. And Sonic 3D Blast was no exception, especially, oh god, that bonus stage song.
Oh, that's a great song.
That song is so good. Like, it's good to put in your headphones now, like if you're like training to run. Like, put that Sonic 3D Blast bonus stage song in your player. Like, that'll get you going and pumped, dude. That song is so good.
It ended up being a fun game, but see, after playing yours, I didn't have a Saturn yet. My sister was the one who ended up with the Saturn, so it wasn't like I could just rent something and go to her room and play it all the time. You know? Right. And so I rented the Genesis version of the game. And that's where the disappointment began. And I can see why a lot of people rip on that game. You put the game in. First problem right off the bat, the music is not the same at all.
Right, it's not even the same songs.
No, not even close. The intro, and I think this is where this is why the entire game sucks. I'm almost convinced why the music sucks and why. I mean, the gameplay is the same, but want to know why their music sucks? Is because they probably have to compress the freaking intro that they use on the Saturn version into the Genesis version, and it looks awful. Oh my god! It was like it's almost like trying to compress a 16-bit game onto a Nintendo cartridge with all the It was just bad, really bad.
Oh yeah.
And then the music, like I said, the music was awful. Mm-hmm. Although a lot of those tunes are the ones that got carried over into other games, because I know at least one or two of the songs from that game were used in Sonic Adventure.
Really?
So, yeah.
Which songs?
The second half of that one stage, it's when you're
that one stage
that
with
one
the
level
stuff?
where you're, huh?
The one stage with the stuff?
Yeah, that stage with stuff.
Okay.
No, that one stage where like you're riding the tornado and everything, and then after you out of the tornado.
You're talking about Sonic Adventure.
Yeah, Sonic Adventure.
Yeah.
After you get out of that level, it plays the first level music from the Genesis version of Sonic 3D Blast.
Interesting.
And then the other song they use is when I think it's the carnival level. I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. It's like a carnival level. It's right before. I know you go to that level before you do the one that like you're up in the not skyscrapers, but you're like jumping, running down the building and everything like that.
I barely remember this, but I think I know what you're talking about.
I think it's a carnival level that has like bumper cars and things like that. Okay. That music uses the intro, like the story music for Sonic 3D Blast, which they made it sound. Obviously, well, I didn't like the previous song I was talking about, but this song I actually liked what they did to it on Sonic Adventure. Okay,
yeah, I don't remember any of the songs on that game sounding bad. So.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, the only reason why I wasn't too crazy about the other one was because of like, this reminds me of Sonic 3D Blast. And the thing is that the next time I heard the other second piece of music was after, because I forgot that music was in there. But yeah, the game was bad. The bonus stages in Sonic 3D Blast was not the same. Like all that. Again. That video that they use at the beginning,
just took every last bit of memory they could get their hands on.
Probably they could have used the 3D half pipe from Sonic 2.
Right? Yeah.
But instead, no. It's like, okay, you're Sonic on this bridge, like this wooden bridge that could break or you could fall off and things like that. Like, no. So now the only other version of Sonic 3D Blast that came close to the Saturn version was the PC version of the game. It actually used the exact same soundtrack as the Saturn version, and what was the other thing? It's basically based off the Saturn version. I mean, it even uses the same bonus stage. The only thing is it doesn't have like this, tails or knuckles flying you into the bonus stage and everything like that. It just goes straight to the bonus stage. So, and I got that for $3 at Jack in the Box.
Oh.
Yeah.
$5, you could have a game and some tacos.
Yep.
Go play that game.
I don't know.
The Saturn version, obviously. You know what I would suggest if people are still skeptical about whether or not this game is good? Get the soundtrack for the Saturn version of Sonic 3D Blast first. Listen to the soundtrack. Then go play the game. And then, let that tell you. Like, if that soundtrack is something that you think you'd want to listen to while you're playing a game, then go try it.
I'd say if any of the songs, my favorite was from the Gene Gadget Zone, which was, I believe, the second to last zone in the game. Both those tracks are so good.
Yeah, the whole game is good. What I liked is that all the stages had like this light motif that would carry through. So all the songs had like this one little part that was the same. That because like it would always show up in every song.
Kind of like, well, and they picked that up from Sonic 3 because I think that was the second game to do it, where they would have one version of the theme and then they'd have a remix version of it for the next round. and that's what Sonic
right,
3D
yeah,
Blast
it does the same thing. Oh no, but I mean every stage has this little. It has the Sonic 3D Blast theme song mixed into every single song in the game. If you go back and listen to it,
that I think was a Saturn thing.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Saturn/PC thing, because again, the soundtrack for the Genesis.
Yeah,
version
don't bother with it. If you've managed to find the Genesis version of Sonic 3D Blast, just delete it.
Well, yeah, and when they have a Sega Genesis collection games and whatnot, and that game makes an appearance on there, and I'm just like, why this version? I know it's the Sega Genesis version, but you guys had a far superior version of this game. They could have just undermined.
Yeah, they could have put another Genesis game on there.
Yeah,
instead,
and it's like because anyone who's going to argue, well, it's a Genesis collection, blah blah blah. Sonic's Sega Genesis collection for the PlayStation 3. That will be my argument, because you also have hidden in there a Master System game and an arcade game, so you can't tell me it's all about Genesis. So, yeah. But they could have added that to there. It would have been nice. Now it's probably just going to be a DLC.
I remember before I got my Genesis, I really wanted that Master System Sonic game. Just to have a Sonic game.
Really? Yeah, it was... apparently it's the same as the Game Gear version.
Right.
Which I was actually disappointed. Like, I got the Game Gear version, I was all excited, and the first, of course the first world was, or the first zone was, more or less the same as the one on the Genesis, just a little more condensed. But, it used the same music and everything. It's like, oh, cool. And then you get to the next zone, and I'm expecting the Marble Zone.
Right.
It's like, no, the Bridge Zone.
Bridges.
I'm like, oh, really?
Just the Bridge Zone.
The Bridge? And then the Jungle Zone. And then you get to the Labyrinth Zone. And it was like, oh, cool, Labyrinth Zone. I really like the music from the Labyrinth Zone. No, it's different music.
Building Zone.
Like, you sons of bitches.
Freeway Zone.
Yeah. So it makes me wonder what zones they're going to have on Sonic Mania.
I'm excited, even if they take something boring like the Bridge Zone and make it awesome.
Oh, I think they will.
Cool.
I mean, it's another interesting spin on what they're going to do with the Sonic franchise. And, do you hear about the special edition?
I've seen the pictures of it with the little Sonic figure, the Genesis, standing on Genesis. Yeah, I've seen the pictures, but I don't really know much about it beyond that.
The only downside is that it's a digital copy. Like, you get that, but then it gives you a code for the digital copy of the game.
I have a feeling they're not going to make physical copies of that game at all. Anyways.
Well, I heard that they were.
Really? I don't think so. I don't think they are.
I hope they do, because, like, again, going back to that whole argument, I'd like to have a physical copy of the game.
I know.
But going on to, I had another game that, well, and this is more mainstream, Dragon Quest II. Or at the time known as Dragon Warrior II.
Okay.
For the NES. I hated the first Dragon Warrior.
No.
Or Dragon Quest.
Okay.
I'm gonna refer to it as Dragon Quest.
Don't tell the entire country of Japan that.
Oh, I hated the first game. I thought it was boring. I thought there was nothing to do. And I mean, and this carried on into Dragon Quest 2, but I hated the style of speech they tried to give the characters.
Oh, with that old-timey English?
Yeah, thou must do this, and dost thou love me, and this and that. And I did not like it initially. And then one of my friends actually had Dragon Quest II, and he finished it, and then he asked me if I wanted to borrow it. So I did, and it was far superior to the first game. Had a little bit more of an interesting story. It's still one of those games where you got to figure everything out for yourself.
Yeah,
but
that was pretty much the norm for the NES.
Right, exactly. But it was fun, and it's actually, believe it or not, it is the first RPG I ever finished.
Oh wow!
And I loved it from beginning to end, and which was weird for me to say, because the one thing that would have turned me off to the game is the one thing I got used to, which was that the first game did have backgrounds when you fought the characters, and that was gone in the second game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was just a black background with the characters there, but I think it was to make more room to fight more characters at once.
Ah.
So, and that was also the first RPG that had, it didn't have a boss theme, but first RPG I played that had boss characters in it.
Oh.
And the reason you wouldn't know it by playing it, because, again, this game only had one boss theme, and that was the last boss theme. But you go to the tower for Hargon, I think was one of the main antagonists of the game. And he fought this Cyclops. And I remember one time I was playing, and our cousin was with us, was with me. And it was a Cyclops, and it was like, I think the first Cyclops I encountered in that game. Either way, it said, "But the monster did not see thee." And I was like, "Now's our chance, run away from it." Because I didn't want to fight this thing. I was like, this thing's going to kill me. I want to get to the boss and everything like that. Yeah. And I hit run, and it blocked my path. And I'm like, oh, shit, it's a boss.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're going to have to stand your ground now, sir.
That made me so angry. I was just like, no, I didn't stock up on any light, or was it leaf of the world tree is what they called it for your life, and I didn't have any potions or herbs or whatever it was. I had none of that. I wasn't ready. Somehow we managed to beat the guy.
Wow.
And we got to the top floor, and then we beat the second to last boss, and then the last boss kicked our ass. So, and it was, spoiler alert, if anybody cares, it was not really a big spoiler to me, because it was just like, wasn't too story heavy, too story driven.
Yeah.
But the last boss wasn't even, it was almost like a Final Fantasy kind of thing, where like the last boss isn't even mentioned until you're at the very end.
Oh, one of those.
You beat Hargon, and then he's like, you may have defeated me. Yeah, well, you may have defeated me, but because like, you're too late. I've summoned so come Malroth, or Malaroth or something like that. Like, what? No, I beat the last guy. What the hell is that?
No, don't summon nothing.
Yeah, a giant dragon, and I'm like, shoot. When am I gonna? And he kicked our ass. So I was like, okay, now we know what to do. Stock up. And this is what in Dragon Quest II is a game. Well, any Dragon Quest game, anybody knows. Until the portables came out, you had to go to a town and you had to talk to a priest or a king or something, and you had to sign your name on the Imperial Scrolls of Honor.
Right.
And that's how you saved your game.
Oh, so old school RPG right there.
Right. And so it wasn't a walk in the park to go all the way back and have to go through all these enemies again. But now we knew what to do. We had to level grind. We had to, get as much gold as we can to buy as much weapons and, whatever defense we could. And, I mean, it was fun. I can see why a lot of people don't like the Dragon Quest series today. Dragon Quest VII just came out on the 3DS. I don't think anybody knows about it. It just came out this week. So, I forgot that it was... Huh?
I know some people that know that it came out, but...
Yeah,
I hang out in different circles, I guess.
I forgot, and, it's like I would like to get this game. The Dragon Quest games tend to disappear really fast.
Yeah, they do.
Birthday's coming up though. Hint, hint. So yeah. But Dragon Quest 2, like I can imagine somebody today trying to play that game.
It would be tough at the very least.
I will give anyone props for anyone who's so used to fast-paced RPGs if they play this one. Yeah, if they play through it.
Prepare to take your time.
Yeah.
Relax.
This is also a time when the instruction manual for at least the first 3 games. Well, maybe not the first one. The first one Nintendo sold with a strategy guide. But I know the second and third one had the strategy guide in the instruction manual.
Wow.
Like, it was a thick book. It wasn't your standard little rectangular booklet. No, this was a freaking little booklet that you had to look through. And it told you everything. I especially remember Dragon Quest 3. I was like, okay, when's this going to stop? When's this going to stop? Holy cow, this is taking me straight to the last boss. I mean, it didn't even bother to hide the fact that there was a twist and that the middle of the game is not the ending.
Oh, that's nice.
You know?
Thanks, book.
Yeah. But, so, yeah, that strategy guide did help, you know?
Yeah. Honestly, I would take a giant strategy guide with games over them just revamping the game to make it easier.
True.
Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy 2. Which is another game that surprised me. Because, like Dragon Quest, I was not a fan of Final Fantasy originally. And somehow, even to this day, with the 32-bit game, or with the not 32-bit, but the most recent re-releases of Final Fantasy 1, I still get stuck in the same damn place.
Oh man, really?
Yeah, I don't know
I managed to beat Final Fantasy 1 when it came out on the GBA.
Really?
Yeah, I thought they had just made it easier. I was like, wow, that was not difficult at all.
Well, it's not because initially when I first played it is because it was difficult. Then when I got to the 32-bit ones, it was kind of like, well, I'm here. I don't know what to do next. I'm gonna stop.
Oh.
You know, because I remember it's always at the volcano. Like, I get to the volcano, then I do not know what to do after that. And so I tried again with the PSP version because I had it, which I think is the definitive version of the game, as the PSP version. But then I got caught up in looking through those extra dungeons, and I never got out of the dungeon. I got stuck in there.
Oh no!
And didn't complete it. One thing I liked is that the PSP version was an enhanced version of the Game Boy Advance port. And so, you know, those extra dungeons, you fought like bosses from previous Final Fantasy games.
Right.
In the GBA version of the game, it just played the standard elemental battle theme for those games.
Yep.
In the PSP version, they actually play the boss music from the respective game.
Well, that's cool.
So, although for whatever reason they decided to use the standard boss music for the Final Fantasy IV bosses instead of the elemental music, since those are the characters you fight in the game. And I don't know if you ever did play through those extra dungeons. I
don't remember. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, you remember, depending on which version you remember, because they fixed his name, was it Mylon or Scarmiglian?
Mylon,
you actually fight both forms of him. When he's in the cloak, and then when he becomes that monster.
Oh.
Like, they didn't cop out and just make you fight that one form of him. You actually fight both versions of him.
Oh.
So I always found that pretty interesting.
That's cool.
Yeah. Otherwise, but yeah, that was another game that disappointed. But the main one, like I said, or the one that's it's not disappointing. Excuse me, the one that surprised me.
Surprised you.
The big one that surprised me was Dragon Quest II, because I did not think I would get into that game, and that's actually the game that got me into role-playing games.
Interesting. So I guess I'll go back to the NES as well. So I got an NES very, very late in its lifespan.
Just like
incredibly late, like a lot of my systems, unfortunately. But
just like with the Super NES, and just like with the
poor does to
GameCube.
The GameCube. Yeah, I'm not the Nintendo guy. I'm the Sega guy. But I did eventually get an NES, and so what had happened? There's a bit of a story that I want to tell of this. So I had gotten it for Christmas. My mom, she had got me an NES, and she got me just this big collection of games. So, as I've gotten older, I've learned to not look a gift horse in the mouth, which is something I'm very proud of. I'm no longer like that person that... There's still kind of this thing that people have when Christmas time comes around of like getting the quote-unquote bad Christmas present. I hate that mentality. Like if somebody's taken the time to buy you something, like for me, that's enough. I don't know where this... I mean, I know where this came from. I don't know why people feel like it's still okay to have this mentality of like, oh, there's a bad Christmas present. I'm going to have to spend the day after Christmas going to the mall and returning everything. Like, I hate that. Like, be appreciative of people giving you things. But it took me a while to get to this point. Right. And I think this is one of those stepping stones, was this time. So my mother had got me this. She, wasn't the most wealthiest of people, and she was definitely not the person that was funding most of my video game affliction.
No.
So for her to get me this was... It was a stepping. It was an event for me, honestly. Because the last time she had bought me a video game system, I really wanted a 16-bit system, and out of all the ones that she got me the TurboGrafx 16, which was not on my list at all. Speaking of surprising things, just that entire system surprised me with actually how enjoyable it was. And I'm sad in the end that I ended up selling it, because honestly, I wish I'd kept it at this point. And that was one of those first things where I shouldn't have been that way. So with this inside, she got me this shoebox of NES games to go with this NES that she'd given me. And they were pretty much, aside from like Super Mario Duck Hunt, which came with track and field, it had the power pad too. Like it was kind of all set up. It was just this whole shoebox of games that, aside from like Friday the 13th, were all games that I'd never really heard of, for the most part. All
right.
And I don't remember too much out of those games. I mean, Friday the 13th I've already talked about before on the Halloween episode. Probably talk about it again. Like it's A, an LGN game, but B, it's doable and it's got its place in history.
Right.
But there were two games in particular out of that I honestly remember liking more than I thought I would, because I did not know what the hell these games were. So the first game is a game whose music you've heard on this show a few times if you're paying attention in the background. It's a game called Solstice.
Yes, never played it.
You never played it?
Don't know any of the music in that game.
Yeah, sure. You've heard it, though, if you listen to the show. Maverick.
I'm sure I have.
So basically what Solstice was, you're like this little purple wizard dude in this top-down isometric view of a castle going through. And like you said, this is one of those games where I had no idea what the hell I was supposed to do. I managed to figure out that you could go from room to room and find like little potions and things, and these potions would make stuff happen. Like you could build new platforms or dissolve other platforms and try and get 2 more rooms within the castle. But beyond that, I couldn't really figure out what to do. I know you're trying to rescue a princess, obvious as always. It's the NES era. And there was a bad wizard.
Nowadays, that would be considered claiming your trophy. Go on.
Oh, my trophy girl. And there was a bad wizard. I don't know. I could never figure out like how to proceed in this game. Never beat it. But there's just this overarching song throughout the entire game as you're playing. It's just the one song. But it's like Space Harrier, where this song is like really, really long, so it doesn't get repetitive. But it was a really good song, and you'll hear it in the background. Maybe I'll even just save it until I'm talking about it right now. The remix version that we have. And that song is kind of what kept me coming back to the game.
Well, yeah, it's like we've mentioned before, a game with a good soundtrack is what keeps you coming back.
It'll do it, man.
And going back to it, I think that's what kept both of us coming back to Sonic 3D Blast, because of their soundtrack.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I remember you being into Solstice. I remember you always talking about it, and I remember when the sequel came out on Super NES. I kept trying to tell you about it, but you didn't seem to care.
Yeah, Equinox.
Yeah.
I feel like I tried to play it, but I seen the screenshots and it wasn't the same. Like your character was not like a wizard anymore. It was like some kid, and I don't know. It just didn't look as interesting to me. Again, I probably should just try and play it and then judge it, but at the time, the pictures weren't selling it for me. So it would start out with that cutscene. It had a cutscene and it would show like a story being played out of this girl being kidnapped, and you're like, oh, princess and stuff. And then it literally just drops you in this castle. It does not explain anything. You're
Nice.
just there. Good luck. And again, the games that she bought me, they were just kind of all in like this shoebox thing. And so it was just the game. So I didn't even have the instruction booklet for this game.
Nice.
And so I was literally just like,
it out on the internet.
I should have Googled everything. I'm such a dumbass. And I got fairly far, I think. I'd pat myself on the back for not knowing anything about the game at all. But it was still a fun little game. I have played it over and over and over again, despite never, ever, ever, ever beating it. And not making too much more headway than any of the rooms that I'd gotten to beforehand.
See, and I don't remember you ever playing that, but I remember you always talking about it.
Yeah, I played it a lot. And again, it was that music, especially playing it at night. That particular song just seemed to work really well at night.
Nice.
I don't know, it was a real night song. And then the other game that was in the collection was actually one of those weird Tengen cartridge games. It was a pirate game called Skull and Crossbones.
That's another one I remember you talking about.
Which on the surface, if you just look at screenshots, it does look like a really crappy game. The graphics are really bad. But, and honestly, it was one of those games where I did not play it for a while. I mean, just the stigma of the Tengen cartridge already, I was just like, no, stupid, whatever. Then I finally gave it a chance, and it's actually not a bad game. I remember having a really good time with that game. It was also 2-player co-op, which was also cool and very rare for the NES. So that was another positive point. And it was actually a really decent game. The controls were actually really good. It had a little bit of a combat system for fighting other pirates and stuff. That was actually really good. Honestly, I don't remember too much about the game anymore, other than the fact that I did enjoy playing it, despite having a long-going stigma of, like, this game's not really good.
Right.
This game's terrible.
Well, I remember a game that surprised me, and we're going to go back into SNK territory here. Fatal Fury 2.
That surprised you?
It surprised the hell out of me because, I've told the story of how Street Fighter was always crowded, and I went to Fatal Fury 2, and I ended up loving the game.
Had you never played Fatal Fury 1?
Well, that's what I'm about to get to.
Oh, okay.
I was skeptical how good the game was going to be. Because I had played Fatal Fury 1. I rented it for the Super Nintendo.
Oh, bad introduction.
Yeah, I was very disappointed in the game. Because it showed like it had a lot of potential and everything like that. And funny enough, it's actually closer to the arcade game than the Genesis version is. But overall, it's not a very good game. Even the arcade version is not a very good game. No. The control is very difficult. Apparently, like the story goes that 2 people who worked on the first Street Fighter game worked on this game. Yeah. I believe it because the controls are too tight. They're very difficult to pull off. Easier to pull off than on Street Fighter 1, but they're difficult to pull off.
Yeah, but not by much.
Right. And so I went to Fatal Fury 2 with a bit of skepticism. And I'm just like, man, this game's gonna suck and whatnot. Popped it in. I was like, oh, this is an interesting character select screen because it wasn't your standard character image and whatnot. No, they were standing there.
Yeah, it wasn't boxes.
Right. I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. And I didn't know what character did what at the time, so I was familiar with Terry, so I chose him. Mm-hmm. And I played through, and you got to choose who you got to fight first. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Right.
So I went to fight. I think, who did I choose first? I want to say I chose Kim just because he looked like Ryu.
Okay, interesting reason.
Yeah, and he ended up doing Taekwondo. But aside from... and then the gameplay was just excellent. I was like, oh, okay, this is actually pretty good. This actually feels like Street Fighter almost, you know?
Yeah.
And what got me, aside from that, was like with you, the music. The music really attracted me to the game because as much as I like the music in Street Fighter, you know, it was kind of bland. Yeah. You know, looking back on it, you know, the CPS2 board, it produced good, or CPS1, I think, wasn't it? A CPS1 board produced decent music, but not great music. And then here's Neo Geo here, and it's putting this rocking soundtrack and everything. You know, you hear Kim's original theme. You know, it's like da 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 da. You know, it's with guitar and everything. I'm like, oh my god, this is pretty badass.
Yeah.
And everything, and it wasn't just like, I mean, yeah. You know, you played Street Fighter, and like, there were some characters that felt, you know, their theme fit them, and others were just cool themes overall. Like Zangief's theme, probably something you could have put something else on there, it still will feel, you know, right for that stage. But then you have something like Blanca, where it, you know, it has a jungly feel, especially the arcade version of that song sounds very jungly, and everything. So that worked, you know. But it wasn't like that for all characters. At least I don't feel that way. You know, I mean, all those. And I'm not knocking the music because all those themes are iconic, you know. But one of the first things I noticed is that with all the characters in, you know, Fatal Fury, their themes worked with them. You know, You go to Terry's stage. You know, you got the train sound. You know, it sounds like you're riding on a train. You go to Jubei's stage. Hell, they're saying Jubei's name all over that damn song. You know, what you call it? You know, I think the only one that really stood out was Kim's, because you're just outside in front of a park. You know,
right?
But
knocking bicyclists over.
Right, and you know, the motorcycle guy, who I'm still convinced is Dong Fu Ru, you know, or you go to Italy, it sounds like Italian music, you know. So all that really worked for the game, and I found it more appealing.
Even like we said before, that the characters in Neo Geo games all had a lot of personality. The music also had a lot of personality.
Right.
Far more than any of the Capcom songs ever did.
Right, and again, we're not knocking Capcom. Capcom had their own thing, and their songs were great.
Oh, but giving credit where credit's due, like SNK's
exactly.
music. If I were to listen to any fighting game music, I would have listened to SNK music before Capcom music any day.
Same here. And
not that I wouldn't listen to Capcom music, but like didn't hold a candle back then.
Oh, right. Exactly. I mean, that's not to say they didn't have good music, because they did. It's just that. No, I'm just saying. But
let's constantly make sure that nobody gets mad at us.
Someone's gonna get mad. I'm sure of it. But we can say it till they're blue in the face. But at the end of the day, I felt that this kind of personified the game even more, because I think totally. Because Fatal Fury 2, just like with Street Fighter 2. You know, Fatal Fury 2 they found their niche. You know, I just played that game.
They picked up a rhythm.
You know, I just played that game recently to show my son, and you know, it doesn't hold up compared to the games now, but you know, for its time, you know, I can still play it as if I was playing back then. You know, I just have to remember that so the controls are still a little stiffer, but sure. You know, you just you had this. You just really, it's hard to describe, but it just felt like it brought you into the game more. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a complete package.
Right.
Street Fighter was definitely more straightforward. I guess, I don't know why I would keep making these comparisons. There's nothing else to compare it to. I mean, it's the only way to kind of get people to understand. Street Fighter definitely more well received, so that's why we're comparing it more than to just say one's better than the other.
We can't sit here and say, well, Fatal Fury was better than Darkstalkers, you know?
Yeah, not even the same game.
Now, you want to talk about a Capcom game where characters have personality, you go to Darkstalkers.
Yeah, Darkstalkers is definitely more along the lines of an SNK game.
Right, but yeah, no. SNK, on the other hand, they did this, and it's
like you could feel that it was in its own little world.
Right.
Street Fighter always just kind of had more of just like it was a game kind of feel to it. And you're just kind of going through the motions to get to the end. Whereas Fatal Fury felt lived in. Like it was probably, I think, the first game we've seen where like characters will say certain things based on who they beat, based on the person they just fought, and so that already kind of gave it more of a consolidated world feeling to it. It had developed its own universe, and then the music added personality. All the characters had very distinct personalities. Right,
like I remember that first time, because I do remember Fatal Fury 1 on the NES, and I remember, like, okay, none of these characters from the first game are here except for Terry, Andy, and Joe, you know? But, so I fought through all the characters, and then the first boss is Billy Kane. I'm like, holy shit, this guy's in it?
Yeah.
You know, and he's first thing he says to you is, long time no see, you know, gonna payback time and whatnot.
Right, yeah. You know, like, they all react to different characters differently, and then on top of it, like, it just feels grander. Like even the announcer has more personality. Like, it just makes it feel grander. Like he's announcing their names and where you're fighting, and it was, I don't know, there was just something. There was a magic. There was something magical to it.
And then going back to how SNK puts that care into the games, I'm not going to sit here and say they've not done that, because they've had their lazy moments.
Oh, sure.
King of Fighters 97. When they released Fatal Fury Special, you know, because Street Fighter was doing Champion Edition, it's like, okay, hey, we're going to go ahead and do this. So
we can do it too.
But they, they changed it up a little, but like they redubbed all the names. Like they had the same announcer, but they had them redo all the names so that it sounded more consistent. It wasn't like they picked the announcer for the last one and then try to put in another announcer who felt, sounded different or anything like that, kind of like Super Street Fighter 2. Tiger, knee.
Oh, I hate that. I hate that so much.
You didn't have that.
Yeah.
And they put even more personality to the characters that existed. All the bosses, all of a sudden, and I wish they had done this with all the characters, but they were just starting. They had opening intros. Billy threw up his stick, or Geese, took off his gi top or whatnot. Right. Because by that time, I think in Fatal Fury 2, the only character that did it was Jubei, and I know that they were taking a cue from World Heroes, because I believe that's the first fighting game to do something like that. But yeah, they had all these character intros for all the bosses and all the new characters, except Tung Fu Ru. But when they came out with Fatal Fury Special, and you had Duck King, and then he's standing there, and he just flips his hood off and starts dancing, and it's like, jeez, they really went all out for this.
They really did. Like, they were like, this is an upgrade. It's gonna be a friggin' upgrade.
Right.
So good.
Exactly.
Good times, man.
So,
what games? Everybody else in the ether, what game surprised you? Let us know. Hit at us. Go on the Twitters. Look for us there. We're at CrossPlat Show. You can tell us what games surprised you. You want to go back and tell us what games disappointed you too? Whatever. It's all cool. Hashtag games surprised me. What games? This is why I don't make hashtags, man. I'm so bad at this. Anyways, anywhere else you want to find us, Twitter, Gmail, YouTube, whatever, we are a cross-platform show or Gaming Tangents on YouTube. And if you want to subscribe, you're hearing this for the first time, you can subscribe to us straight out of SoundCloud. You can grab our RSS feed out of there. You can plug that into any podcast catcher you got. We're also on the iTunes, Google Podcast Play thing, whatever. Not Slacker Radio. Slacker Radio. Stitcher Radio. That's the one. And pretty much any of those other, podcasty things. Subscribe. Tell your friends. Tell their friends. Tell their friends' girlfriends. I don't know.
Tell your dog.
Tell your dog. Helps dogs sleep. Study show. Maverick. Study show.
Listening to our podcast does put your dog to sleep.
It does. It puts Maverick to sleep too, apparently. No, it does not. Okay, good. I'm glad. Excellent. All right, I think I've covered all the bases. Little bit of housekeeping. So yes, we were gone last week. Do apologize for that. Sometimes these are unforeseeable. Next week as well. There will not be a new podcast next week, but next week is planned ahead of time, so we're aware. We do have one more episode in the vault that hasn't actually made it onto the audio podcast yet, although it's been on YouTube for a while. But so we're gonna grab a episode from the vault and put it all out there for your listening pleasure. It is from a very long time ago now, so
we were very green.
Yeah, please enjoy how wet behind the ears we are, because we will have a special guest with us though, so that may change up the dynamic of it anyways.
Our first special guest.
It was our first special guest.
Our first special guest, and the audience is just now going to hear him.
I know, right?
Sarah and Tyree were not our first guests, folks.
No. It's all right, though. More to come, honestly. Speaking of which, this is going to be the last of the regular Gaming Tangent season as we are heading into Halloween. I'm a huge Halloween guy, so for the next few episodes, the rest of the month of October, they're all going to be very Halloween-themed episodes, so be prepared.
Be very prepared.
Soul.
And then we will have a special Thanksgiving episode.
Oh, yes.
We love talking about Thanksgiving-related games.
Thanksgiving games. Games for Thanksgiving.
Do they make games that are Thanksgiving-related? I know they have some Christmas games, but
there's got to be a game with a turkey in it somewhere, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
But anyways, so we'll be coming back to you with a new episode 2 weeks. For now, look forward to Gaming Tangents from the Vault.
Yes, we do have a vault now.
Vault Tangent. I think it's our last vaulted episode too, so after this, we're out of ideas if we miss a week.
You will be listening to Gaming Tangent Classics.
Retro Tangents.
There you go.
Remember that one time?
I remember that one time at the color bar.
Yeah. Alrighty. So that's gonna do it for this week of Gaming Tangents Podcast. I'm Menji.
I am Maverick.
And please, everyone out there, do your best to just keep on running and jumping.
Keep platforming, folks.
Woo! Woo! Peace out.
Would you like to play again? You have selected no.